I wanted to begin tonight and just say a few words because it's pretty amazing that we actually have decided, you have decided, and those online to be here tonight. Within, another hour, we're going to know whether this nation is going to be obliterating Iran according to the president's threat or not. And as of 6 o'clock anyway, when I last looked, their Pakistanis have tried to intervene a little bit or do some kind of diplomacy, maybe a 2-week stalemate or stoppage for a while. But at any rate, I thought, what brings us to talk tonight, as we are going to do, to meditate, and then to talk about the spiritual path, when all of this explosiveness is happening in the world, and particularly with regard to our own nation. And it occurs to me, I think there are 3 reasons why we come. We could have stayed at home to watch blow-by-blow account of what's going to be the countdown till 8 o'clock this evening, or we could have even better stayed at home with loved ones to just be together. And I thought one of the reasons I think that we decided to come here is because, in a deep way, we are friends and family together. I mean, in a deep way, we are a community, and this is one reason to come. And I think that a second reason that we're here is because of the Buddha's teachings of non-harming and loving kindness. And as far as I'm concerned, I think us being here or online tonight is a testimony to the fact of how deeply we align with those values. And I think there's a third reason. I was thinking a third reason why we're here, and that's because ultimately the Buddha's teachings are about true nature, our oneness. And I think all of us have within us something that resonates with that, even if you feel like, oh, it's far away, I don't really know it, or any of all those qualifications that the mind makes up. I think there's some resonance there. And I think that shows us deeply that no matter what is happening in the world, there's a place, an inner place, that is always not only available to us, it is us, that we always know it, it's always there, no matter how much the world is in chaos, or this nation specifically. So for those 3 reasons, I thought just a testimony and an appreciation for us that we're all here and doing this tonight when there's so much agony in the world. So let us start with a meditation. And so I invite you to just settle in. Inviting you to close your eyes if you wish. We do that simply because it's easier to really settle in. Let's take 2 deep breaths, long and slow. And kind of help us just settle in a little more deeply, and then breathing naturally. Allowing your breath, the touch sensation of your breath as it goes in and out of the nasal passages, experiencing it. If you wish to follow the trace of the breath all the way inside and to the diaphragm, that's fine. Or just observing this breath as it moves into the nasal passage, and then as it moves out. experiencing the touch of the breath. Allowing the breath to be the object of our attention, the content of our experience. And when thoughts arise, as they very likely will do, just noticing and not hanging on, allowing the thoughts just to flow by like leaves on a stream, and returning attention, the object of your attention, to your breath. A very gentle process. And too, when thoughts arise, just a gentle process, letting them go. No need at this moment to hold on to any thought. Not making thoughts the object of your awareness, but breath. You might notice the quality of your breath changes as you settle in. Or maybe it doesn't. Either way, all is well. It's the noticing that is a central feature here. The breath is the object of your attention and your noticing. And now I invite you, just as you have allowed the breath to be the object of your attention and momentarily perhaps thoughts, I'm going to invite you to let go of those, both the breath and if thoughts arise, letting go of those as well. Taking a backward step with your awareness, letting go of all objects of your attention, and stepping back. Stepping back into what? It's the invitation for you to find out, to experience the what. To experience what is always there, even if we don't wish to put a name to it. It's objectless. Resting in this space that has no object, that is no object. Relaxing. This backward step is actually a matter of dropping all effort. There's no effort in simply resting in what's present, the open spaciousness of it. It's dropping the effort to focus on anything and just relax and rest. And again, if thoughts arise, and they probably will, letting them go. And this time, instead of focusing on the object of your breath, take the backward step and just relax. Drop all focus. Being present. This place of open awareness. It simply is what it is, open awareness. No thing there, and no one there. No sense of witnessing. We are simply being. Again, noticing when thoughts arise, or maybe a sense of boredom that has no thoughts, but just kind of a feeling you want to move a bit. For right now, take that backward step. A backward step into that spacious place that is wordless and nameless, but in fact, which we can call pure awareness or oneness. This is the space that intuitively we know is home. Intuitively, the knowing is present. We know this intimately. It is not an extraordinary state. It's not an altered state of consciousness. It's a quiet, natural awareness, that which we truly are. No need to seek for something special. No need to seek at all. It's here right now. Always has been. Always will be. No matter what you experience, whatever emotion or state of mind, this is always here. The emotions and the states of mind, in fact, are merely expressions, you might say, turbulent expressions of this. It doesn't need to be practiced. It doesn't need to be cultivated. You already are it. Touching it, being present to it. Amidst all the distress and the unrest in the world, this, which we are resting in now, this is present everywhere, experiencing it. And so just a couple of comments, friends. The first is, I hope that you'll notice the difference between the sense of efforting when we're focusing mindfully on, say, the breath, and when you invited to step backwards and just rest. I hope that you can experience directly the difference. That's non-efforting, because there's nothing to do. It's just about being present, dropping that subtle focus that attention requires to any particular object. And also I wanted to observe, in case you are new-ish to mindfulness, meditation, insight, and to everything else that we've just done, don't worry if all of this sounds utterly strange, the stepping backward into whatever it is you experience. It's not a problem. As we do it over and over, it begins to come to you naturally to experience and notice ever more deeply what this is all about. Just doing it. Just doing it. So thank you for right now, friends. So, as many of you know, I have been offering a series that I called What I Wish I'd Been Told, a Map of the Spiritual Journey. And this has been in several parts, 5 parts so far, and tonight is number 6, the 6th part, and the final part of this particular series. This has been experiential, these first 5 parts, and as a result of my own experience and my interactions with other people. And tonight, the last part, is going to be going beyond my experience, but something that I feel we do need to talk about here. So tonight is called, this particular part of the series is called The End of the Spiritual Journey, the journey's end. And I have invited you once again, as I have before. I'm recognizing a lot of it, of course, is not what the mind can grasp. It's paradoxical. So I invite you to listen, not just with your mind that says, what's that about? But also with your heart, with your intuitive understanding and feeling. And if it doesn't click, don't worry about it. Just let yourself flow with it. But listening with your heart. And I just remembered before we go into this, I was just informed that about 6:30 or so, that America has backed down and accepted the Pakistani proposal. Thank you, Ira, for informing me. Yeah, so going on from there, we'll see what comes up next in that area. But tonight we're talking about something that doesn't pass, that doesn't change, and particularly the end of the spiritual journey. So listening with your heart. And what I want to do very quickly is to review what I have said before in the past. And if any of you are interested, we'll put at the end how you can get to these very easily on the website. So first of all, the brief review of what we have done. I have identified what I think of as 3 different phases of the spiritual journey. And the first phase is just questioning. The very fact that we question what's it all about, what's the world about, that's pretty remarkable. Not everybody does that. And I think every one of us here wouldn't be here tonight unless you have, at some point, maybe in a long time ago in the past, or maybe right now, what's it all about? So that's the first part, the first phase. And then the second phase is practicing and beginning to glimpse and then awaken to something that is past, beyond our ordinary daily experience, You know, we don't need a lot of practice. We all live in our every day-to-day experience. And there's something in us that doesn't feel like it's quite complete. And we begin to glimpse that and recognize and awaken to the fact that, oh, there is a whole other realm that we are able to experience. And it is the realm of pure awareness, or oneness. I've discussed this in considerable detail in preceding evenings. So this is the second phase. And the third phase is the phase after awakening. Because unlike what I think our general opinion in spiritual circles is, like awakening is the end of it, everything stops, you pull over the curb and that's the end of it. No, it's a new beginning. And I've identified, I think, some significant openings that happen there. And by the way, each one of these phases is marked by an opening in awareness, a significant opening. And even within this third phase of after awakening to oneness, our true nature, and we've talked any number of times about the many, many terms that can be used. I won't go through all of them now. They're all terms, they're all words that point to what can't be really named. So we'll call it oneness or true nature, or I'll probably call it other things tonight, but whatever. Understanding, it's all the same thing. After awakening, what happens? Well, first of all, when we first awaken, we're like on a bridge. When that first really deep understanding happens, we're like on a bridge because we have our foot in, you might say, two different worlds, and one of them is what we have always known, our conventional, the way things are. And the other one is, wow, the experience of oneness, our pure nature. It's of such a remarkably different category, we can't even explain it. And I will just say, a friend of mine just recently commented, someone who has awakened to this, that they felt like their entire previous life was on autopilot. And now they no longer are. It's a huge difference. How do you reconcile those two? Because now it is known that there is something of a totally different nature, and yet our conditioned behaviors keep coming in. And what do we do about that? It's confusing, it's a dilemma, it's a problem. And that's the path, the journey after awakening. Now, for many of you, it may not happen just once. It may happen any number of ways. But basically, this is the journey after awakening, is beginning to integrate our lives and align our lives with that which we have awakened to. And as we do that more and more, and I've discussed how, and I won't go into it tonight, about the importance of, in our daily life, of returning time and again, when we catch ourselves totally caught up, and it's so very easy. I don't know about you, but I mean, so today, looking at the news several times, I certainly got caught up. Returning. That is just dropping it, coming back. You don't have to spend 30 minutes or a half an hour, 20 minutes, or even 10 minutes meditating, but it's dropping back, and it becomes an easier journey, and no journey at all, ultimately like that. Coming back time and again. So this is the journey after awakening, and as we do this more and more often, then what happens is our lives become increasingly integrated with what we have awakened to, and our conditioned patterns that kept pulling us back and making us think small, they begin to weaken. So that's the bridge, and the bridge gradually shifts a bit more and more, so that more and more greater parts of us are awakened and aware of as we have awakened to. So that is the dancing. And I have several times quoted Shunryu Suzuki, who said this path consists of 1,000 little moments that make one dance, which a comment that I love. And it's not all dancing. Because, as I've said, as we are pulled back into our conditioned patterns, it's so difficult. It feels like a real conflict. So just know it's normal, hard as it is, but you are, I will say, gradually integrating into what you really and truly, what you know as the highest truth. And in terms of the challenges of that, I have mentioned that short YouTube clip by Alan Watts, which, if you wanted to look it up on YouTube, is Alan Watts Quit Slowly. He talks about some of these challenges. So this is all part of what I've called phase 3 of the spiritual journey. And now I'll go into discuss what I think of as phase 4. And this is the part I haven't not experienced it. But phase 4, which is really the end of the spiritual journey, is the experience where a sense of self falls away. This happens naturally, the sense of self falling away. I don't know when it happens. I can't say when. It's a mystery. That if one practices enough, is awake enough, I have no idea. But it certainly has happened to various people. Obviously, the Buddha this is abiding awareness all the time, fully awake. When the Buddha spoke about unshakable deliverance of mind, unshakable. His mind was always awake. And it wasn't just the Buddha. There are beings through great traditions throughout history, in the past and at present, who have awakened and are awake in abiding awareness, always aware, fully aware. And just to name a few, I think obviously Jesus, Ramana Maharshi in the Hindu tradition, Nisargadatta also in that tradition. Americans, many people, but in Americans, I'm thinking of Adyashanti, whom some of you know some of his works, an American teacher who retired a year and a half or so ago. There is a wonderful interview with him that Brianna is going to put into chat at the end of the talk. It's an interview with him and also with a woman named Susanna Marie. It's on Buddha at the gas pump. Are you familiar with that? If you aren't, I think some of you are. I think you will really enjoy the program in general, but it's been going on for years. Interviews, and we now call them podcasts, with spiritually awakening people, and by Rick Archer, who's been given an amazing service over the years. So at any rate, this particular interview that I'm speaking about is one with Adyashanti and a woman, Susanna Marie, and they talk about, both of them, the experience of the self falling away. So again, and it's on Buddha at the gas pump. That short name for it is Back Gap, and you'll find it. Brianna will put it on the chat, in the chat. But I would just say, Shanti mentions his experience there, and he said he was sitting on the sofa in his living room doing something, or reading or listening to something, and then when he got up off the sofa, he recognized something was different. Something was gone. He didn't know what. He said it was only that night when he went in to sit down on the bed that he realized that he'd lost the sense of self. It happened just like that. It just wasn't there. And Susanna Marie tells it in a different way. There are many, many stories about this, but I think you'll find it a really fascinating interview. And what it points to, these are people who are fully awake. And yes, they still have deep openings in awareness, but no longer is there anything a significant kind of opening of a shift. It's just the end in that sense. They still have emotions. They may live right in the middle of the world. They may be recluses or monks or nuns or whatever. It's not what they're doing, but the fact that all of them are living in this awareness all the time. So I invite you to consider, to think about it, and you might want to listen to this interview. And all of this then is talking about awareness from the individual perspective. That's what I have been doing mainly in these past talks up to now. And I've said that this phase, which I've called phase 4, is the end of the journey. That is talking about the map of the spiritual journey from an individual point of view. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? What the individuals experience. They experience what is ineffable, what cannot be named, but it's from an individual's point of view, and I think we can relate to that. So then we come, that's the first part of the end of the spiritual journey. There's a second part to the end of the spiritual journey, and that is, there is no journey, and there's no individual to experience it. That's a totally unrational statement, is it not? Yeah. And I was thinking maybe the best way to say something about it would be using the image of the ocean and wave. Up until now, we've been talking about from the point of view of waves. Each wave is different, and it's there only short time, and then it's gone. And it each has a little bit of a different characteristic, a different color, or whatever. But if we take a look and consider the waves from the point of view of the ocean, it's a whole different understanding. The ocean at the very bottom is utterly still. Somewhere in the general middles, it has currents. And then on the surface, it's either calm or rough or stormy, or different characteristics. All of it is all of it is ocean. Whatever the nature of it is, whatever the nature of the wave, that's the analogy, that we human beings are like that. We see our lives from our own individual perspective. When we pursue and go on this spiritual journey, eventually we recognize another perspective. We recognize the reality of the ocean and that we are part of it. In fact, we recognize not only we're part of it, but everything is part of it. It's all oneness. It's all shared being. Everything. It's all of us. And that's really hard to remember when we take a look at something like the news, but it is profoundly true. And this is what we are called to recognize. This is what we begin to recognize as we wake up. And then it's a lifetime of just really living into the reality of shared being. That no matter who and how people are reacting or what is around us, it's all the same. It's all ocean. And we're many different waves. So that then is the second way of talking about the end of the spiritual journey. Two ways, from the individual point of view, and I've identified 4 phases. And by the way, there are many different ways, as I've said before, of identifying or segmenting the spiritual journey. Some of you may know some of the Theravadan way. Believe me, it's totally different. So this one is the way I understand it and have experienced it. And so if you don't see it like that, that's right, that's fine. But I hope it'll make some sense to you. So most of us have not reached the 4th stage of the falling away of a sense of self, of living in a place where there's no more being driven by ego, of wants and not pushing away, aversions, going toward. It's simply being present in the present moment with what is, and living according, I'd say, to the guide of our awakened understanding. It's a guide. It tells you what is a yes and what is a no. It is naturally aligned with that, with the yeses and the nos. What is not to be done and what is yes, go ahead and do it. So, at any rate, most of us, maybe all of us, have not reached stage 4, phase 4, and we have the question, are left with the question, so how do we live with where we are? What is our highest calling on this spiritual journey, the journey that you are on, I'm on, all of us are on? And I think that the highest calling is, first of all, to recognize both of these, that our everyday life and that our awakened being, and to recognize that we are trying to align our lives, our everyday lives, with what we have awakened to. Aligning our everyday lives with what we have awakened to. And ultimately, increasingly, we are living full circle. As we awaken and align, as I discussed in some detail last time, we bring this awareness that all of life is pure nature, is oneness. It's all of life, it's not just us. And we try to live in accord with that. That is what we're being called to live from an awakened heart. So a friend of mine recently told a story that so much exemplified this that I thought I wanted to repeat this to you. He is someone who is an anesthesiologist, and he's out of state. He worked for over 40 years in this profession, and recently a celebration was given in his department for him and others who were retiring. And each of these physicians that was retiring was invited to say a few words about their experience in the past, however long it was. And he said that he went last. The others talked about it and talked about what their accomplishments were, what their memories were, briefly. And then he spoke, and he said, he thought about this, and he said his accomplishments and what he achieved and the patients that he served were part of what he did. But more important, he wanted to talk about who he was. And he said and told them that who he was was an understanding of awareness, of oneness, and that all beings are simply part of oneness. And he was exemplifying that in serving and doing what he did. And I think I have something. He said, an understanding of the one that we all are and its manifestations of love, compassion, and kindness. This is what he recognized he was. And of course, this is what we in our tradition have been training is compassion, kindness, and it's the oneness understanding that we're now bringing to it as well. And so he expressed his thanks to everyone for given him this opportunity to do that. But I thought this was so powerful, not what he did, but what he was. He saw the awakened oneness of us all first. And it struck me, can we view our own lives like that? Or do we view it in terms of this accomplishment, that accomplishment, and this may be not so good, and so forth? That's the individual perspective, and it's fine. But what about the other, the oneness? Beginning to see our lives in terms of that, as he did. And I'll say that he said at the end of this, his very short comments, he said, first of all, there was silence in the department, as the others attending there. He said, and then they clapped. And I thought it was really very beautiful. So I would just like to finish up with a few concluding remarks and said, first, I understand that everything I've been saying, I've said a lot in these past talks. It's a lot to take in. And if they resonate with you in any way and you would like to see them or go back and listen to any of them, or in fact to any other talks that any of the teachers give here, Brianna has now set up a new way of doing that online. And it's not only going to our talks, which are on our website under Dharma Talk Archives, but you can go from there, and she's going to put the little track, you can follow it, it's very simple, at the end of the talk, and you can take it teacher by teacher instead of going just chronologically, which will go back years and years and years. You can take it teacher by teacher, and then our talks are listed chronologically, each teacher's talks, and it makes a big difference. And I thank you, Brianna, for doing that. Yeah. And I'd also like to say that I am recognizing that not all of you are going to be interested in this. We're each at different places in our journey. And for some of you, this may sound like just so far out and you just don't feel like you connect. That's natural. But I will invite you, keep it in mind. You see, this spiritual journey is so surprising. You never know how it's going to unfold for you. And so, at some point, some of this, even if right now it feels like you're not attaching to it at all, attracted to it at all, at some point, maybe it will support you. So I invite you to keep it in mind, hold it gently, and hopefully for all of this is of some benefit. So that's my hope for all of us. Oh, I know, I did want to say something else. If, in fact, you are in any way attracted to these teachings about oneness, about true nature, I'll say, first of all, my talks, I guess as you recognize, on Tuesday nights are what these are about. In one way or another, I'll continue with that. In addition to that, I do lead now a noonday sits. You know, from noon to 1, during the week, we offer noonday sits, and I do that twice a month on the first Friday, on the first and the third Fridays of the month. So they are meditations in this oneness, pure, like we did tonight, true nature, oneness, pure nature, whatever you want to call it. And so if you're interested, maybe you want to join those on Fridays, first and third Friday. In addition to that, sometime in the fall, I'm going to be beginning facilitating a small group in which our focus is going to be on just the same topics, but it will be experiential. And when I say small group, it'll be maybe 8 or 9 people. If you feel that you might be interested in knowing more about it, you are welcome to email me, and Brianna is going to put that up into chat now that I'm finishing with all of this. So you can have my email address, and you can email me, and we can talk about it. I don't have the dates yet. It's all a bit up in the air, but I would like to know if you would like to know more about it and be part of an 8-month group. We'll meet once a month for 8 months. More to be said later on. So thank you, everybody, for this.